So, hi everyone, welcome to the Junior Developer channel. Today we're going to talk about freelancing with Pooja. So, Pooja, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, Dhruvesh. Um, Actually, I am into web and mobile app development, and I have been working as the independent since 2.5 years. I have been working with clients across the globe, and to name a few, I have worked with clients in United States, UK, and Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, and of course in India. It has been
That's
a
interesting.
yeah, it has been a very nice journey so far.
Awesome, sure. So for those of us who don't know, right? So, can you just tell us like what exactly is freelancing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, freelancing is nothing but a process in which if the freelancer provides the services to the one who needs it. Like suppose you know something like in web development or mobile app development, and someone is in need of it. So you're
Hmm.
going to provide your services to them, and you can charge them like per hour or per day or based on per project. So that
Okay,
depends upon the agreement.
sure.
So
Uh, and how exactly did you get into freelancing?
I actually got into freelancing accidentally when
Oh,
I passed out my engineering from computer science. I got placed into the MNC, but my parents didn't allow me for relocation. So I thought, like, this is not the full stop of my life. I need to do something, and
that's
that's when
inspiring.
that's when I started exploring like what are the new opportunities that I can have, and that's when I came across this term called freelancing, and then accordingly I started preparing myself.
And that has been the journey so far, and it has worked out quite well for you, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm sure
it
it's
has
better
worked
than MNCs, right?
it has worked so like nicely that I don't want to go for a traditional job now.
Sure. So yeah, as you mentioned about traditional job, right? So can you tell me what is the fundamental difference between full time, since you are also like sort of like, what is the fundamental difference between full time freelancing versus actually doing a full time job?
Yeah, actually when we see full-time freelancing and full-time job, we have to work in freelancing as well, like normally 8 to 9 hours a day. That's not the case, but we
Hmm.
have the flexibility of our working hours. We can work at the time that we want, whereas in traditional job we are stuck into that particular time schedule. Like some people aren't as productive in
Exactly, couldn't agree more.
morning.
Especially developers, right? Especially developers. I know a lot of developers who love to write code in the night, right? But apparently the day job don't allow that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the one difference. You have the flexibility to choose your working hours. The next difference would be in terms of income. Like in traditional job, no matter you have fixed income, but in freelancing, if you do it properly, you can go a very long more than what you can earn in a traditional job. The third main thing is like we save a lot on commuting. A lot of time is saved in commuting, so that's really a wonderful thing because sometimes, when we like live in metro cities in Mumbai or Pune, we have to deal with the rush in the
Yeah, dude. I mean,
local
it's
trains
it's
and
crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. So even I was in Bangalore. The traffic scene there is like insane. I mean, to all the folks, to whom I've talked to and all, everyone is like so happy that it's all remote right now. They're getting to avoid that traffic, right? So it's a huge thing.
yeah, like even though companies are offering the remote opportunities now in
Hmm.
India,
Hmm.
but they do have a fixed schedule. Like you have
Right.
to be in front of your laptop from this time to that time. So that's a really a nice perk when you do it in freelancing.
Right. For full time, it's usually non-negotiable, right? You have defined work hours. It's like you have to be there, as you said, right? So,
Yeah.
so if you had to, convince someone to, take up freelancing, like what also monetary compensation is one of the thing, right? Flexible hours is one of the thing. You also get to, be your own boss, right? So I think these are like really good reasons to convince someone to get into full time freelancing or something, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So, if you can describe me, what a typical day of a freelancer looks like.
Actually, that varies from person to person because, as I said, like you might be productive in morning and I might be productive at night. So, accordingly, we can have a schedule of our productive hours. Usually, my day begins early in the morning. I start with some meditation, with following a workout, and then I just plan my meetings and schedule them, and then I plan what the tasks are there for the day to be done, and accordingly the day carries out. My work usually begins in afternoon and begins ends up in night.
Okay, okay, nice. So on an average, what would you say? How much hours do you work on an average? Like, give a rough estimation if you could.
Yeah, because I'm into freelancing full time, I usually dedicate 8 to 10 hours a day.
Okay, that's like almost same for any other full time job, right?
Yeah, actually people have a myth that freelancers don't work like that much as the employees do, but that's not true because we have to deliver some things to the clients. We have to work full time and we have to make sure that the client is staying happy at the end.
Yeah, that's the most crucial thing, right? And at least in the freelance world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So let's say, since you have been in the freelance world since a long time, about 2.5 years or so. So what all tech skills are usually in demand, like currently in demand in the freelance world?
Actually, if you talk about technology, we can say like website is not going out to date,
Yeah, yeah,
like
never. That's gonna
because
stay
like
for as long as we are alive.
yeah, so definitely website development, website designing, and when we talk about designing, we can think of UI and UX. Like yeah, UI and UX developers have a very good scope in freelancing world. Also, if someone is artificial intelligence and machine
Mhm.
learning, we have a very good scope. Another technology we can have is blockchain.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard a lot about blockchain as well. Like a lot of companies are actually going about, implementing this thing in their organization level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. And if you could talk about few things, right, which actually, people misunderstand about freelancing.
Yeah, the first myth is like people think you are your own boss. So yeah, actually that holds true in most of the cases. But
But
if you see the other
also,
side of the
yeah,
coin, we have to also report to someone. If you are working with multiple clients, you have to make sure that your deliverables are perfect and they are on time or sometimes before time to keep your clients happy. So in fact,
so essentially
when it
in a nutshell, like you don't have one boss, you have like multiple bosses, right?
exactly right.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and another thing is like people don't think freelancers are as professional as employees, but someone who is doing freelancing full time, we they are equivalent to that because the time dedication almost goes equivalent employee spend. Just the
Mhm.
difference is we have the flexibility and
I mean, that
yeah.
flexibility is also like it's really subjective, right? I mean, it completely depends on you, on how how you figure it out, how you manage your time and all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And people also think like freelancers don't need to work 8 hours a day. Like they need to work a couple of hours a week, but
That's the
that does not
biggest myth,
hold true.
right? That's the biggest myth of all. Like I've heard this a lot, like from a lot of folks. But even to be honest, even I was surprised since freelancing was something introduced to me back in college, but I never knew that someone could do it full time. Unless like really recently when I started reading blogs and all about freelancing, like so I came across like folks like you, right? We catched up, right? So even you are like a full-time freelancer, so I was surprised, but in a way if you look at the other side, it's a really lucrative job, right? So it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell me like what all soft skills are required for someone to be a successful freelancer?
There are few things that you need to have when you work as the freelancer, and the topmost thing that I like to include in soft skills would be communication skills. Because, like, especially if you think of freelancing in long terms, and if you think of having clients which are based out, you need to know English very well. Plus, it is just not about the speaking skills. You should also know how to communicate with them verbally as well as non-verbally, because as the developers we need to communicate with another developers when we are working in team. We are supposed to write some emails, or we need to have some communication.
That also has to be
So
certain professional level as well, right?
yeah, exactly. So like for people who are in college, this is like a, you can say, a must have skill if we think of soft skills for freelancer, because if you cannot communicate well, you are not going to like sustain in freelancing for long period.
Exactly, exactly.
And like even if you do not communicate well while you're talking to client, like suppose we are just like talking to a prospect, like the deal hasn't been fixed yet. So if you're not communicate, like if you do not communicate well, if you're not able to convey your message properly, how are they going to hire you? So that's the one thing. And another thing is like you should be self disciplined. Even though we have the privilege to have the flexible working hours, but we need to have discipline, because anyhow we need to work long hours a day, and we need to have some discipline, like there should be a routine according to me, so that we can stick to it and we can keep our clients happy.
Sure.
And
This is especially true for all the folks who are in engineering college, right? I mean, we love to procrastinate, and that is one habit. Like even today, I still procrastinate, but it's I understand it's really difficult if you are doing something of this sort full time. You have to manage your time accordingly and all. It's a like only then it will be a smooth process for you, right? Otherwise, if you start coding something while the deadline is coming up, it will be like really stressful, right?
yeah, exactly. And another thing that I'd like to add will be about the time management. Suppose like if you are working with multiple clients at the same time, if you're working with suppose like two or three or four clients at the same time, you need to know like which task needs to be done first. You need to have your priorities, and time management plays a very important role here, because if you do not manage your time properly, if you do not prioritize your things properly, you are not going to keep everyone happy. So then there's no point in working with multiple clients at the same time.
Yep, yep.
Again, time management is important.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. That's like you that's non-negotiable, right? You have to do it. You have to do it. Sure. So like okay, again, a follow-up question would be like, what do you think is the toughest thing about being a freelancer?
Yeah, the toughest thing about being freelancer would be again time management, self discipline. Because like suppose if you are working from home, there will be some distractions, and
I
you
mean,
need.
this is particularly true for folks. Like for example, I used to work back in the office, right? And when I
Yeah,
after COVID, when I came back to my hometown, and when I started working from my desk here, like it was really difficult for me to concentrate. That's why the work hours increased for me a lot. But now that now even I realize that how crucial time management is, right? So even I have started, planning my day accordingly and all, so that has helped me a lot to be productive. Anyways, please continue. You're saying something.
yeah, same thing. We need to have time management, because if we do not have self discipline and time management, we like kind of mix up our personal and professional lives then. So we need to have like time management and self discipline.
Sure.
So
That is
that's the toughest thing, because like even if you're working from home and some relative comes and like rings your the doorbell, then you have to answer it, and you should know like how are you going to manage it
right, right, right. Oh, nice. That's a really good point. I mean, that has happened a lot to me.
then.
Sure, sure, sure. So, okay. So let's address the elephant in the room, right? So, how does one get started with freelancing?
Actually, to get started in freelancing, you should know like what are you good at. Firstly, some people might be good at mobile app development, some would be in website development. Firstly, you should also know what the market demands. Like if you are good in desktop applications and all those things, but the market does not has any opportunity for it, then there's no point. You should know
Yeah,
what the market is demanding. Next, you should know what you are good at and what you can offer, and then you just have to know, after knowing your market, you just have to master the skills and get started with projects.
Okay,
And one after the another, like depending upon how you work, you can also get referrals, and you can just get started with that.
sure. And also, like as you say, right? So if you want to, put up an advice out there, so would it be good if we can, master one specific skill, or having multiple skills would actually, be more lucrative? Like for
Yeah,
example, to give you an example, like if you could either be a complete DevOps guy, or you can be a DevOps plus front end, or DevOps plus back end guy.
actually, this is this question varies from person to person, but
Hmm.
according to me, the more you know, the more opportunities you can grab.
Right.
So if you know more, you will have more opportunities at your door, and you can grab them according to your time.
Sure. And like if you can, list down few websites which are really good to, get started with freelancing.
Yeah, actually, there are some websites like Upwork or Fiverr, but honestly, Upwork is no more approving the profile of new freelancers because they are
Oh,
trying to maintain the ratio of the employers. And so, for that purpose, like Upwork works really well for freelancers that are older, because they are no
mhm.
longer accepting newer profiles. But even if you consider other freelancing sites like Fiverr or Truelancer, the ratio of conversion is very low. This is
Oh,
so I guess freelancing websites are not working well for new freelancers at least.
sure, sure, sure. Okay, and can you talk about, some of the downsides of being a freelancer?
Downsides of being the freelancer, one of them would be you have to wear multiple hats. You have to do everything, because freelancing is not as easy as it sounds, but if you do it the right way, it's going to be a very,
It's like,
adventurous journey.
right. It's like in a full time job, you essentially have your manager in place, right? Who is all the time managing you. But in if you're doing full time freelancing, it's just you, right? You have to manage yourself completely, which is a big task. If you if you go for it, you will understand that it's a big task, right? It might not sound that big of a task, but it's a really huge task.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the downside. And another downside is you have to deal with the society, because the society doesn't see you as a professional when you work as the freelancer.
I mean, some things about Indian societies can't be changed, right?
Yeah, right.
Sure. And as a freelancer, promoting yourself is really good, right? And it's not just true about freelancers, but even anyone in the dev community, right? So, for example, to take a few names, right? Like who doesn't know Tanay? Who, I mean, who like he's one of the engineers in Microsoft. He talks a lot about mental health. He talks a lot about tech and all, right? So it always plays good if you are actually popular in the community, right? Because you have to present your work, right? So how, as a freelancer, do you promote your work so that you get more work?
It's like if you want to buy a ice cream and I come with the ice cream in front of you, you would obviously buy it. So get in front of people who are looking for you.
Okay,
That's the
that's a
thing.
nice
And
analogy.
actually, if we go deeper in this, like if you want to have a chocolate ice cream and if I come with the vanilla flavor, you of course you won't buy that. So that's the thing. Like if you are good at, like suppose in web development, don't try to get in front of someone who's looking for desktop or mobile app development. So know
That's
your market well, decide a niche and try to penetrate in it. And the thing is, like if you want to buy ice cream, you will buy it once you see it. So at more projects, you need to show more projects.
right,
So
right, right.
again, like for people who are new to the freelancing and who haven't worked with the clients before, they can have some portfolio projects. And for people who have some experience, they can show some previous projects of the previous clients.
Interesting, interesting. I think, yeah, I think this is true even for full time opportunities as well, right? So if you're known in the community, then it's really easier, like comparatively easier to get an interview at least, right? After that, it depends completely on your skill sets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So now, if you could go back to the time when you were actually starting off with freelancing, so what is one piece of advice you would give it to yourself, so that this particular journey would be more fulfilling?
Yeah, that would be like know your niche and know your target audience. Like, suppose, like, when I got started, I was into web development and I was like looking for people who are like vaguely looking for software developers. So that was the mistake that I did. I should have looked for the people who are looking for web developers and not the software developers. Because when we talk about software developers, it's a vague term. We can have multiple languages, multiple frameworks. While
Mm-hmm.
we are into web development, the frameworks are limited. So
Right.
that's the thing. Like, know what you are interested in, know what you can offer, and know like to whom you can offer it.
So the sooner you know it, the better it
It
gets for
will
you, right?
be, yeah, right.
Sure, sure. So if you can speak about how do you manage multiple opportunities, right?
Yeah, that again depends upon the client. um, like sometimes like the sometimes the companies or clients demand the full time work,
Mm-hmm.
so at that time you need to deal with one client at a time. But if the agreement can have some options of like having some like 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day, or sometimes it's not even like number of hours a day, sometimes it's based upon the project.
Okay.
Like if I can handle multiple projects, I just have to prioritize my task and deliver them before time to the client, so that I can keep the client happy and the process goes fine.
Sure, sure, sure. That's the most. I mean, that's the most straightforward way you could answer it, right? Sure. Cool. So, any pointers for folks who are actually starting off in the freelance industry?
Yeah, the pointers would be like know what you are interested in. Because like I have seen the trend, like if uh, it happens, like if a person is successful in this domain, then I'll also follow the same domain and I'll also get successful in that. So that doesn't work that way. Because like suppose if I enjoy web development and you don't like JavaScript, you are just good at like suppose Java or
Some
in
other
Android
random language.
development.
Yep.
Yeah. So that won't work that way, because you have to work long hours a day. You have to spend long hours of time in front of a machine. So you need to love what you do.
Exactly,
So
exactly. That is the golden message, right? I mean, it's not just applicable to freelancing, but it's applicable to everything in life, right? I mean, whatever you're doing, you're supposed to love it, else it will fall apart after a certain period of time, right? I mean, yeah, sure,
yeah, exactly.
sure. So,
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's the thing. You need to love what you do. You need to master the skills and then accordingly have the projects.
Sure, cool. So, my one last question would be, how do you get to work with international clients? Since you mentioned in the beginning, you work with quite a lot of international clients, right, across US, Europe, and all, also Middle East. Yeah,
Yeah, so what happens is like when you are into freelancing, you have to do multiple things. You're not only responsible for software development or in development itself, you also have to manage to talk to clients, to like arrange some meetings with them. There are two strategies that we can have. One is the outbound strategies, in which like suppose you are a client based in US and you're looking for some developers, then I'm going to, I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to reach out to you. That is the outbound strategy. And the inbound strategy is like you are going to reach out to me. So,
okay.
according to me, the outbound strategy works well, but the process is because, like, if I reach to 10 clients, one of them is going to respond to me. The chances are really low when
Hmm,
we talk in the like real world, but inbound strategy works very well. So usually I get my clients using the inbound strategy.
sure.
People like look at my profile and then we usually have the conversation, and if both the parties agrees to some terms and conditions, we have the contract signed.
Interesting, interesting. So I mean, your especially your LinkedIn profile is like it's really impressive. Like I was looking through your post other day. You spoke about some of the error handling techniques in JavaScript and all. Like you speak a lot about them, and not just that, you also speak a lot about mental health and all. I'm glad you're evangelizing all these things, because not a lot of folks speak about this, at least in LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, actually, the main point is like to deliver the knowledge that I have so that people can get benefited from it and they can like have the platter, the things that I did in the that I learned in the hard way, they can do it in a easier way.
Right, right, right. I mean, exactly, exactly. Like it's like that is the reason even I'm doing this, right? So that the mistakes which I did back then should not be like, no one should repeat the same, right? So I majorly speak about internships, but freelancing is also a good topic for folks who are back in college, right? They can earn really good amount of money from even doing this, right? And so that's the reason we are all doing it for the community, right?
Yeah, I actually loved your videos on internships, and you're really doing a very, very great job for people who are still in college because they are in need of guidance and
Exactly.
they need, yeah,
And the traditional college, like especially teachers and all, they are definitely educated, but they have not seen the industry full fledged, right? If someone who has been to industry and then is coming to teach, then they can actually guide the students better, right? But for someone who has never been to the industry, it gets really difficult, and essentially everyone has to figure out their own path. And now that because of internet, it's basically easy now, right?
yeah, exactly. I cannot agree more with you on that.
Sure.
In fact, for people who are interested in freelancing, I'm trying to come up with the free email course or the video course for like on how to get started with freelancing, how to work with
Interesting.
international clients and earn more money than the traditional job. Like so,
Awesome.
if anyone is interested, they can directly connect with me on LinkedIn with the invite so that I can help them like with getting started with freelancing.
Awesome. That's amazing. I'll link down your LinkedIn link in the description so it will be easier. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I think your brother is there, right?
Yeah, actually, my niece is here and he's
Oh,
laughing.
okay, okay. Awesome. Cool. Then I think, Pooja, that's all we have for today. It was great speaking to you. Thank you again for taking the time out doing this. I hope, folks in college actually learn something from this podcast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing.
Okay, awesome. Cool then.
Yeah.
Thank you.